Hello everyone, so we'll be doing an 8 pieces skirt. So to do this was what we used for our 6 pieces skirt, and I want to use it to show you the only difference that we have when we are doing 8 pieces. So you can see that the back is already 4, 1 2 3 4, right? And then the front is 1 2 3, right? So the only difference for between a 6 pieces skirt and an 8 pieces skirt is that this middle part, we are going to cut it into 2. We are going to cut it into 2. Okay, so it's not going, when we are cutting it, we are not going to put our paper on fold. We are not going to put our paper on fold like this. When you cut on fold, by the time you open up the fold, it will be whole. We are going to be cutting in pieces. We'll cut in pieces. So when we open it, we'll have different parts. Okay, so when you cut in pieces, I'm trying to illustrate it. So for instance, if I cut on this edge, that is pieces on this edge, by the time we open it, it will be 2 different parts. But when you cut on this edge, when you cut on this other edge, when you open it, you'll still have a complete whole. So the only thing, the difference between this, that's 8 pieces, and 6 pieces skirt, is that this one is going to be cut in pieces. That's the 8 pieces, we'll cut this one in pieces, okay? But 6 pieces, you cut this on fold. So I put my paper on fold of about 10 inches. Inches, 10 inches. Please ignore this chalk. I used it to draft something else, so it's not part of it. So now that I've folded my paper, my fabric, the next thing I need to do is to divide this into 2. I want to divide my 10 into 2. I'm going to be managing the fabric. The flare will not be too much because the fabric is not that big, but I still want to show you how to go about it so you can make your flare wider. So this is me making a straight line in the middle. Okay, so the next thing I need to do now is to put my waistline, which is 8, and my knee line 17. And then I'll join the points. Alright, so now I've divided the line into 2, and I've gotten my hip line and my knee line. The next thing I want to do is use my nipple to nipple measurement. I'm going to be using this as my point of reference. So for the front, my nipple to nipple measurement is 4. So I'll mark 2 on this side and mark 2 on this side. Remember, we used 4. So for the hip, I'll also use 4. So I'll mark 2 on this side and I'll mark 2 on this other side. Then on the hip line, I want to use 3.5. So 3.5, I want to divide it into 2. So we'll have 1.75. Also, let me divide it with my tape. So I don't want to stress my head. Okay, so that 3.5, I'll put the midpoint here, and I'll mark on this side and mark on this side. Can you see what I've done? Then I'll join the points. And this one will come in. Can you see? Then I'm going to just, add my sewing allowances of 1/2 inch on both sides. So half, 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 half. Then I'll join the points. Okay, after getting this now, I'll do a flay all the way to the bottom of the skirt. So from here, and then next thing is to cut out. So now we have our two front pieces. These are our two front pieces. So I'm going to notch this part. I will notch it so I will know where I will be sewing together. Okay, so I've notched it now, so I'll know that I'm going to be joining this part together to form the two front pieces. Okay, all right. So now we are going to use this to draft our back pattern. Okay. Okay, so on this side where I'll be joining, remember I put a notch, I'll add a zip allowance. So at the top I'll add 1.5, here I'll add 2 at the bottom, and here I'll also add 1.5 at this point. Okay, and then I'll join. And then I'll extend it all the way to the end. And then what we need to do now is to cut out. So now, where this zipper allowance is starting here, I'll put a notch. I'll put a notch here so I can tell that this is where the zip allowance is starting. Then I'm going to put a notch this side to show that so now we are going to be cutting our sides. We have both the center front and the center back. So now I've placed the front piece, I folded this into 4. This is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to cut the side pieces together. So I've placed it like this. If you look at it very well, this side is the side, while this is the middle part. This will be joined together like this in the middle, while this will be joined to the side. So I'm just going to cut off that side. So I'm just going to place it and cut it off exactly like this. So the next thing we need to do now is to turn these lines. Okay. Then we open up it this way. And create notches to show that this is going to join. This is to tell you that this will join with this side and this will join with this side. So now the next thing we need to do is to get our full measurements. Okay? And so to get our full measurements, we have the measurement book. The waist is 8.75. 35 divided by 4 gives 8.75. So I'm just going to place on the waist 8.75 plus 2 inches. 8.75, 9.75, 10.75. So I'll mark it. Then the hip is 41 divided by 4, 10.25 plus 2 inches. $10.25 is here. Then you add 2 inches, 11.25, 12.25. Then for the knee, we have 9.5. 9.5, so I'll just $9.5, 11.5. Okay, so I'll join the points. And then I'm going to draw my line all the way to that point. Okay, and then I'll cut off. This is how the front piece looks like. 2, 3, 4, and you have the same thing for the back, and so you have an 8 pieces skirt ready. As for the joining, it's the same thing. You're just going to cut the lining equal and just sew it exactly the way I'm going to show you to sew the 6 pieces skirt.